Hey everybody, welcome to Jacob's Quest, and today we got a couple comments from Taika Waititi that have the Star Wars fandom in an uproar again. Look, this fandom tends to overreact to pretty much everything. They get really hyperbolic, they take things way out of proportion, and of course this is no different. So Taika Waititi, he has a movie coming up, Thor Love and Thunder, comes out tomorrow actually. Well, tomorrow midnight showings kind of thing, you know. And yeah, you know, it's gotten mixed reviews so far, kind of a mixed reception. We'll see how the audience reception is. I'm going to see it tomorrow. But anyways, he's being asked about Star Wars stuff because, of course, his project, as far as we know, is supposed to be the next project coming down the line. But he's gone on record repeatedly saying he's just now writing it. He's only just started writing it, so it's very early in production. Definitely not coming out next year, so I don't know why Disney still has it on the slate for next year, when I don't see any way that that's happening. Anyways, he was asked a couple questions, and he kind of shared this funny anecdote with Rolling Stone. And here, we'll go ahead and read this. Thor Love and Thunder director Taika Waititi forgot Natalie Portman was in the prequel trilogy and asked her to star in his Star Wars movie. The actual quote says, Natalie said, "What next?" And I said, "I'm trying to work on a Star Wars thing. Have you ever wanted to be in a Star Wars movie?" She said, "I've been in Star Wars movies." And he said, "Oh, I forgot about those ones." And that's it. That's the full quote. That's literally it. And this has caused a lot of people to, like, well, first, you know, obviously there's a lot of prequel fans. I'm a prequel fan. There's a lot of people who are like, it almost feels like there's a difference between being a fan of something and then being what the kids call a stan of something, where it's like this is your like obsessive moment, you know, like this is all you think about all the time. So like the prequel stans, which I think is even further than being a fan, I guess, you know, they got pretty upset. They're like, oh my god, he doesn't remember the prequels, he doesn't remember that she's Padme Amidala. And you know, I had to think to myself, I'm like, and I tweeted something to the same effect of, I was like, look, most normal people, okay, most normal average audience goers, most normal people, even creators who write movies and you know, work on Marvel stuff, right, they're not like us. They don't think about the prequels and the sequels and the original trilogy and Clone Wars and Rebels. They don't think about this stuff every day. They don't even think about it every month or every year. Most people saw those movies when they came out. They kind of vaguely remember them because, again, it's been 20 years, guys. I don't know if you remember that, but you know, this year is Attack of the Clones' 20th anniversary. So most normal people are like, oh yeah, that's right, those movies came out, you know, 20 years ago. That's the last time I saw them, you know. And maybe they bought the DVDs after they came out, and they got the collection of the DVDs and they saw them again when they bought those. My point is, it is absolutely reasonable and rational that, like, you know, that someone would be like, oh, that's right, I forgot she was in those movies, you know. But to us, it's like blasphemy. It's like, how could you possibly forget she plays the most important character, Padme Amidala, you know. And it's like, in fact, I think I remember something to the effect of, even Keira Knightley, this was a couple years ago, Keira Knightley came out and said, like, oh, that's right, I don't even remember being in Phantom Menace. Of course, she plays Sabe, she plays one of the handmaidens who decoys for Padme in Phantom Menace. And for us fans, again, for us nerds who think about this shit all the time, we're like, yeah, of course you did, you were this, and then you've been in the comics, and you've come back. Keira Knightley does not remember any of this. This was an acting role that she did, you know, 3 years ago, you know? So I guess my point is, it is not outlandish or weird at all that, like, oh yeah, I forgot about this movies. The second thing, of course, is that he could just be joking. He could be joking. This could all just, you know, be a funny gag, because that's what he does. If you've ever seen any interview with Taika, or any kind of, like, little, I don't know, acceptance speech or whatever, he's a sarcastic guy. He's not like this guy who's gonna give you direct answers and be serious all the time. Like, no, he's gonna mess with you. You know, he's already said things to the effect of, like, oh, I'm gonna ruin your lore, I'm gonna ruin your mythology. You know, like, he's joking. It's a joke, you know. He's not being serious. So that's the other thing, of course, is that this could all just be a goddamn joke, right? But, you know, my other thing is that a lot of people were like, oh, you know, why is Star Wars hiring these creators who like don't know the Star Wars franchise like we do, and they don't understand things like we do, you know? And I'm thinking, like, the creators of these stories, the only thing that they need to do is be able to write a story and write characters and, you know, pacing in a story and structure and all that stuff, right? You don't need to be this like mega Star Wars fan in order to do all that, you know? And truth be told, and I tweeted something to this effect also, is that I've seen a lot of ideas that fans have. A lot of ideas that, weirdly enough, some of them even seem to like go completely counter to, you know, the franchise that they love so much. Sometimes it feels like it's actually a much better thing that creators are not nearly as invested in the minutia of the fandom as we are. Because when you get as invested as we are, you become bogged down by little factoids and cameos and Easter eggs, you know? It's like, oh my god, I can have this reference to Darth Bane and his apprentice if I put this over here, and if I'm, you know, like you get lost in all that stuff, you know? So I don't know. To me, it does not matter at all if someone is like, oh, that's right, the prequels happened. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm sure more chances are, you know, when you're gonna go actually do the Star Wars movie, you're probably gonna watch all of, like, the main movies at least, right? You don't have to watch all the shows. I don't expect that of them, but you know, they probably should watch at least the movies, and I imagine that they would, you know? But my other thing is that, like, if they had any kind of lore questions, or if they needed to be, you know, kind of guided lore-wise, or, you know, mythology-wise, that's what the story group is there for, you know? That's the whole purpose of the story team, is that way if creators have any questions, or if they need to know things about, like, you know, the time period that their story is being set in, they would come out and be like, oh, well, actually, you can't use this because this happened over here. Or actually, no, you can do this over here because this character isn't born yet, or something, you know? I don't know. Look, Star Wars fans love to panic. They love to, like, oh my god, he doesn't remember the prequels. You know? People are silly. People are really... It takes one day to go rewatch the prequels, you know? This interview was probably done months ago. Let's assume he's not joking. Let's assume he's not joking, and he's like, oh, that's right, the prequels exist. It literally takes you, what, 7 hours to watch the prequels, and then, like, okay, there you go, you're caught up. You know? I don't know. People are just very silly. But this kind of brings me to my other point as well. So, the same interview, different question here, and this is something else that people are getting all worked up about. Taika Waititi on moving away from the Skywalker saga with his Star Wars film. He says, I don't want to mess with something that's so treasured. There are thousands of books about Star Wars with all those characters. I just don't have time to get through them. I'm not promising that I'm not going to do anything like that. I'm just saying it'd be easier for me to not do that. Would you like to see a Jar Jar Binks movie? You know. So, you know, really what he's getting at is that, like, you know, kind of exactly like what happened with Legends, is that, like, at this point in canon, there are so many books that it's just not reasonable to expect any new creator to, like, you have to have read every single book, every single comic, all of that, right? Because again, creators who write these stories, they don't need to be in the minutia of the fandom as we are. It's cool when they are, because then they want to, like, push in these tiny little Easter eggs and whatnot, right? But it's far more important that they just know how to make a movie, write, you know, enjoyable characters and an interesting story. Like, that's much more important than, oh, but does he know about this, you know, Darth, I don't know, Darth Nihilus. And so my other thing is that, like, you know, basically what he's saying here, and this is something that I believe Kathleen Kennedy has mentioned in one of those interviews from I forget, was it Vanity Fair? you know, they're moving away from the Skywalker saga, which obviously is indicated by the Rise of Skywalker being called the end of the Skywalker saga. So yeah, they're moving away from it. Whether that means they're going forward or going backwards, that's like a debate that rages on. I personally hope that they go forward, because if you go backwards, you're still very much, you know, in this little box where you have to tie into stuff that is going to eventually happen. You know, you have to tie into the High Republic in the prequels, right? So personally, I hope they go forward. But, you know, basically what he's saying is, I don't want to mess with any of that stuff that's so treasured. So essentially, what he's saying here relates so much to his other comment, because maybe he doesn't remember the prequels that well, because again, they came out 20 years ago, and most people aren't like us and they don't watch these movies every year, you know. He's not trying to, you know, write stories about all of this stuff that has, frankly, its baggage. You know, we were all there for when Kenobi was, you know, airing, when it was coming out every week. There's a lot of baggage for legacy characters and legacy moments in time when people expect to see certain things, and if certain characters show up, they have to act a specific way. They, you know, and everything gets criticized down to like the way they walk, the way they fight, the way they enunciate words. You know, like I remember Darth Vader was on Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I'm Jesus, I remember some people were like, Darth Vader wouldn't do that. He wouldn't say it like that. Why would Darth Vader talk that way? You know, and I was like, holy God, I cannot imagine trying to be a writer. And then, you know, do you think they want to sit there and think about like, okay, what are the fans going to say about Darth Vader saying this? What are the fans going to say about Darth Vader swinging his lightsaber this direction instead of that direction? Like, it's I can't imagine even wanting to create in that space, because it's nothing but scrutinized, because people have, you know, when the older a character is, the more ingrained in people's brain that character is, to where it's like, oh, I know exactly what they would do, you know, at least their version in their brain. You know, their version of Darth Vader would do, right? So it totally makes sense that Taika, and frankly Star Wars as a whole, would be like, hey, we're trying to get out of this, you know. Obviously we're still making Obi-Wan and Andor and Ahsoka and like all this stuff that's like surrounded by that area, but we're working on leaving it. The only thing is, it takes time. They're trying to plan it. Remember how everyone was complaining how there wasn't a plan? They're trying to make a plan. It takes time, guys. So yeah, you know, even today I see people will be like, man, I wish they'd leave the Skywalker side. They're trying to. They're trying to. That's literally, they've been saying it for like a year now. They're trying to leave the Skywalker saga. They're trying to plan it. They're trying to come up with like a direction, you know. Anyways, people are frustrating. Anyways, so yeah, it makes total sense that like, yeah, he's not gonna bother to read all these thousands of books, because that's not at all what he's gonna be writing about, you know. So if and when this movie ever comes out, I imagine it's gonna be in the far future. It's not gonna have anything to do with legacy characters. It's not gonna have anything to do with, you know, you're not gonna see any Skywalkers. You're not gonna, like, it's, for all intents and purposes, it's gonna be like the beginning of a brand new saga, completely unrelated to this past saga. And that's honestly, I think, the best thing that they could do, because then your audience doesn't go in saying like, well, if Luke Skywalker shows up, he has to do this and he has to do that, and he would only act this way because I know Luke Skywalker better than the people writing Star Wars know Luke Skywalker, which again is ridiculous. Anyways, so yeah, just this Taika Waititi stuff. I don't know what's been happening over the last couple days. Some people, you know, because Thor's been getting a mixed reception, some people have been like using this as a weird opportunity to like target this specific creator for some reason. I don't really know why. It's been getting really weird online. I've had to like mute a whole bunch of people because I'm like, I don't know. Everyone like collectively decided to take this moment to be like, you know what, we've decided we're gonna attack this guy for some reason. I don't even know why. Anyways, look, this movie may or may not come out. You know, it's no secret Lucasfilm has had trouble keeping creators around. There's, you know, creative differences, as the quote is, right? It's basically a meme at this point, the creative differences. But if this movie happens, you know, I expect it to be something completely unrelated to anything that we've seen before. It's going to be its own complete thing, which is what everyone's been asking for, right? That is literally what everyone's been wanting. So he doesn't need to read all these books and all this stuff, because right now we're all still stuck within this, like this 200-year period between the High Republic and the Rise of Skywalker. It all takes place within like the same 200 years, right? So I don't know, it just, people love to exaggerate, they love to overreact, they love to get crazy hyperbolic, and I promise you, because of this, I haven't even bothered to look, but there's all kinds of videos out there right now about how Disney's SJW woke Star Wars is ruining Star Wars again, you know, the same, you know, the usual folks. Anyways, you guys, the Star Wars fans need to calm down. First of all, again, this could all just be a goddamn joke. He's a very sarcastic guy, he could just be joking. Second of all, even if he's not joking, even if he's like, oh yeah, that's right, those prequels happened, like, so what? If he's not writing about the prequel characters or anything to do with that character or that storyline or that timeline or anything at all to do with any of that, there's no Skywalkers, there's no Palpatines, right? If it's all brand new stuff in an entirely different part of the timeline, completely unrelated, then why the hell does it matter if he, you know, if he remembers that one part of Attack of the Clones, you know? Like, why does that matter? Anyways, I don't know, people are weird, fans love to complain, and I guess I love to complain about fans complaining, I don't know. Anyways, let me know what you guys think about all this. Are people just being really silly? Do people need to, you know, get a prescription for a chill pill maybe? Yeah. Anyways, let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.